At 2:03 a.m., my mother texted, "Grab your brother and run. Don't trust your father." The glow of my phone scorched my eyes in the dark. 3 sentences that sounded impossible, until the shape of them settled into my bones like ice. My mother was in Denver for a 4-day conference, the same kind of predictable trip she took every month for her compliance job. She didn't text after 10. She didn't do drama. She didn't do fear. So when she wrote like this, tight, urgent, stripped of punctuation, it didn't feel like panic. It felt like a warning from someone who had already seen the worst part of the movie and was trying to drag us out before the next scene. I was 17. Old enough to know the difference between adults overreacting and adults being genuinely afraid. I rolled out of bed and pulled on jeans and a sweatshirt with hands that wouldn't stay steady. My mind kept snagging on the second line. Don't trust your father. Downstairs, my father had been in the living room when I went to sleep. Calm. Normal. Laughing softly at something on TV, a mug of tea in his hand like he was the safest person in the world. The kind of man neighbors waved at. The kind of man teachers called involved. The kind of man you didn't imagine your mother would ever warn you about. But my mother didn't warn without reason. I yanked my backpack off the chair and dumped out schoolbooks, replacing them with my laptop, a charger, and the emergency cash I'd hidden in a sock in my drawer, money I'd saved from babysitting and tutoring, for reasons I'd never fully admitted to myself. $300 in 20s that suddenly felt like a lifeline. My brother, Tatum, was 12 and slept like a stone. His door was cracked. I eased it open and froze, listening. The house was quiet except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the distant tick of the hallway clock. No footsteps. No voices. Tatum was buried under his comforter, hair stuck up in the back the way it always was. His glasses sat on the nightstand beside a half-finished comic book. I crossed the room and knelt beside him. Waking him gently would take too long. Waking him loudly would risk everything. I covered his mouth with my hand before I shook his shoulder. His eyes snapped open in panic, body jerking, breath trapped under my palm. I leaned in close, my lips nearly touching his ear. "Listen. Mom sent an emergency message," I whispered. "We have to leave right now." Quietly. "You cannot make a sound. You have to trust me." He stared at me, fear and confusion fighting across his face. Then he nodded once, sharp and small. I released my hand and he sucked in a breath, silent like I'd asked. I shoved jeans and a hoodie into his arms. He pulled them on over his pajamas, hands clumsy, movements rushed. I didn't bother with socks. I grabbed the first sneakers I saw and shoved his feet into them. My eyes kept flicking to the door. To the hallway. To the floorboards that loved to creak at the worst times. Our rooms were at the back of the house. The safest way out wasn't the stairs. Tatum's window faced the backyard. I'd opened it 100 times to sneak out, to sit on the roof when I couldn't sleep, to breathe air that didn't feel like it belonged to anyone else. I popped the screen free, heart pounding, and looked down. 8 feet to the flower bed. Not perfect, but survivable. I tossed both backpacks out first. They landed in the mulch with dull thuds that sounded too loud anyway. Tatum hesitated at the sill, peering down like the ground might bite him. "I've got you," I mouthed more than said, gripping his wrists. I lowered him as far as I could before letting go. He dropped the last few feet, landing hard and stumbling, but he stayed upright. I followed immediately, hitting the dirt and rolling the way I'd learned in gym class. My ankle twinged but held. Tatum's eyes were wide. He didn't speak. He didn't cry. He just stood there, waiting for me to tell him what kind of nightmare we were in. I took his hand and pulled him toward the back fence. We moved fast, keeping low, cutting through the yard like shadows. I scaled the privacy fence using the crossbeam, then reached back down for him. He struggled, but fear gave him strength. I caught him when he dropped into the neighbor's yard, and we ran. 1 backyard. 2. 3. We emerged onto a quiet street 2 blocks away from home, breath ragged, hands still linked like letting go would make this real. Only then did I look at my phone again. 2:03 a.m. sent 11 minutes ago. No follow-up. No missed call. Just those sentences hanging there, heavy and final. I tried calling my mother. Straight to voicemail. That didn't make sense. If she could text, her phone should ring. Unless she'd sent it and immediately lost access. Unless she'd sent it right before something happened. Tatum tugged my sleeve, his whisper trembling. "What does it mean? Why would she say that?" "I don't know," I whispered back, forcing my voice steady. "But we're not going back until we do." My phone buzzed. A text from my father. "Where are you to?" I heard a noise upstairs. The casual tone didn't soothe me. It felt like a mask, too smooth, too carefully normal. Another message followed before I could decide whether to reply. Come downstairs. Right now. My throat tightened. I pictured him at the base of the stairs, phone in hand, head tilted as if he was only annoyed. As if he wasn't a man my mother had just told us not to trust. Tatum's eyes shined with tears he refused to let fall. He was trying to be brave the way boys do when they think being afraid is a betrayal. I guided him toward the only place nearby that stayed open all night, a small convenience store with bright lights and a glass front that didn't offer much warmth, but did offer witnesses. Inside, the clerk barely looked up from his phone. The store smelled like coffee and cleaning solution. We drifted to the back near the refrigerators and pretended to browse water bottles while my mind ran in tight circles. I tried calling my mother again. Voicemail. I texted her with shaking fingers, "We're out." "Where are you? What's happening?" Before I could send a second message, my father called. I stared at his name until the screen dimmed, then forced myself to answer, putting it on speaker so Tatum could hear every word. "Maris?" My father's voice came through tight, controlled. "What are you doing? Why aren't you in your room?" "We got a text," I said carefully. "From Mom." Silence, just a beat too long. Then, softly, "What did it say?" My stomach turned. The question didn't sound like confusion. It sounded like someone testing what I knew. I swallowed. "She said to grab Tatum and run. She said not to trust you." A sound like a laugh scraped out of him, short, wrong, almost offended. "Your mother is not well. You know that. She gets worked up, she makes things dramatic. She's trying to scare you." "That doesn't sound like her," I said, and hated how small my voice became. His tone hardened, the warmth draining away. "Tell me where you are." I didn't answer. "Maris," he said, sharper now. "This isn't a game. Give me your location." My skin prickled. The clerk glanced in our direction like he could sense the air changing. I tightened my grip on Tatum's hand and forced myself to breathe. "We're safe," I said. "We'll come home when we speak to Mom. Not before." His voice dropped, suddenly calm in a way that terrified me more than anger. "You don't want to do this the hard way." The line went dead. For a second, the store's fluorescent buzz was the loudest sound in the world. Tatum stared at me, mouth parted, shaking now. He didn't sound like Dad." "No," I whispered. "He didn't." Outside, a vehicle rolled past the storefront slowly, headlights off for a moment before they clicked on again. The shape of the SUV, dark, familiar, made my blood go cold. Tatum leaned toward the glass, then jerked back like he'd touched something hot. "That's his car." I didn't wait to confirm. I scooped the cash back into my pocket, pulled Tatum toward the side exit, and pushed the door open into the night, already knowing that whatever my mother was running from, it had reached our street. And it was looking for us. The night air felt sharper as soon as we stepped outside, like it was cutting straight through my sweatshirt and into my chest. The convenience store door shut behind us with a soft chime that sounded absurdly cheerful for a moment like this. I didn't run right away. Running draws attention. Instead, I steered Tatum sideways along the building, keeping us tight to the wall, using the shadow cast by the overhang. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure it had to be visible, like a signal flare in my ribs. The SUV rolled past the front of the store again, slower this time. Headlights on. Then off. Then on again. He was searching. That realization hit harder than fear. Searching meant intent. It meant he wasn't confused or worried or trying to check on us. It meant he expected us to be somewhere nearby. Tatum's fingers dug into my sleeve. "What do we do?" I forced my voice into something calm. "We don't let him see us. We move when he moves. Stay with me no matter what." The SUV turned the corner at the end of the block. The second it disappeared, I pulled Tatum into motion, not toward home, not toward any place familiar, but deeper into streets we rarely used. Residential turned into mixed use. Houses gave way to closed offices and dark storefronts. My phone buzzed again. I didn't look. I knew who it would be. We cut through a narrow alley that smelled like wet cardboard and oil. My shoes slipped slightly on the pavement, and I nearly went down, but adrenaline kept me upright. Tatum stumbled once, and I caught him without breaking stride. We didn't stop until we reached a small bus shelter near a major road. Glass walls, a metal bench, overhead light buzzing faintly. Not privacy, but visibility. If my father came near us here, it wouldn't be quiet. I finally powered my phone back on. Messages flooded in instantly. From my father. Where did you go? You're making this worse than it needs to be. I just want to talk. You're scaring your brother. The last one made my jaw tighten. He was trying to make me the villain now. Trying to shift responsibility. A new message appeared. Unknown number, this is Special Agent Rowan Hale. Your mother asked me to contact you if you left the house. Do not return. Are you both safe? My breath caught. I read it twice. Then a third time. Tatum, I said quietly. I think Mom told someone to watch out for us. He leaned in, reading over my shoulder. Who is that? I don't know yet, I said. But Mom trusted them. That was enough for both of us. I typed back with shaking thumbs, we're together. Not hurt. Dad is looking for us. The reply came almost immediately. Good. Stay visible. Stay in public. Do not tell him where you are. I'm sending you a number to call from a secure line. A second message followed with a phone number. I scanned the street before moving, then guided Tatum toward a closed laundromat across the road. The lights were off, but the pay phone outside was still there, old, cracked, forgotten. I dropped coins in with hands that barely worked and dialed. Agent Hale, a calm voice answered. No hesitation. No confusion. This is Maris, I said. My mom texted us to run. She said not to trust my father. He's looking for us. There was a pause, not the dangerous kind, but the focused kind. Your mother is alive, Agent Hale said. She's in protective custody. She sent that message because we believe your father discovered her cooperation with an ongoing investigation. My knees nearly buckled. What investigation? I asked. Financial crimes. Large scale. Your father is not who you think he is. The words felt unreal, like dialogue from a movie I hadn't agreed to watch. He's trying to get us back, I said. He followed us. I know, Agent Hale replied. We saw his vehicle on traffic cameras. That's why you need to keep moving. He's attempting to regain control of witnesses. Tatum let out a small, broken sound. Witnesses to what? I asked. Agent Hale's voice lowered. Your mother uncovered evidence that your father has been laundering money through shell accounts connected to multiple businesses. When she confronted him, he didn't deny it. He threatened her. She came to us instead. Everything snapped into place with a sickening clarity. The late-night, work calls. The sudden extra accounts. The way he insisted on handling taxes alone. The calm, measured tone he used when he wanted obedience. What do we do now? I asked. I have agents en route, Hale said. They're 30 minutes out. Until then, you need to stay public and unpredictable. If he approaches, you call emergency services immediately and state your names. Do not get into a vehicle with him under any circumstances. The line went dead. I hung up slowly. Tatum was crying now, silent, shoulders shaking, trying so hard not to fall apart. I pulled him into my side, pressing my forehead to his hair. We're okay, I said, even though I didn't fully believe it yet. Mom did the right thing. We did the right thing. Headlights flared at the far end of the street. The SUV again. This time, it didn't slow. It turned directly toward us. Tatum, I said, standing. Run with me. We bolted down the sidewalk, past dark windows and locked doors. My lungs burned. My ankle screamed. I didn't care. The SUV accelerated. Tatum, don't look back, I said. Just run. The engine roared closer. Tires screeched. Then sirens cut through the night. Red and blue lights flooded the street as two black vehicles swerved in from opposite directions, boxing the SUV in before it could reach us. The SUV skidded to a stop. Doors flew open. Men and women moved fast, shouting commands I couldn't hear over the blood rushing in my ears. I wrapped my arms around Tatum and held him as hard as I could while officers pulled my father from the vehicle. His face twisted with something I had never seen before, rage stripped of pretense, control gone. His eyes locked on me. And in that moment, I knew my mother's text had saved our lives. Everything after the sirens felt unreal, like the world had slipped into a slower frame rate. Officers positioned themselves between us and the SUV, weapons lowered but ready, voices sharp and controlled. My father was forced to his knees on the asphalt, hands zip-tied behind his back. He didn't struggle. He didn't need to. The look on his face told me he already knew this moment had been coming, he just believed he could stop it. Tatum pressed his face into my shoulder, shaking so hard I thought his knees might give out. I held him upright, anchoring him with my body while trying not to stare at the man being arrested 10 feet away. That man still had my father's face. That was the part my brain couldn't reconcile. A woman approached us, mid-40s, calm eyes, badge visible but not waved around like a threat. "Maris?" she asked. I nodded. "I'm Agent Rowan Hale," she said gently. "You did exactly what your mother hoped you would." The words hit me harder than anything else that night. "She's alive?" I asked again, needing to hear it one more time. Agent Hale nodded. "Yes. She's safe. Shaken, but safe." My legs finally gave out. I sat down hard on the curb, pulling Tatum with me, both of us breathing like we'd just surfaced after being underwater too long. Agent Hale stayed with us while other agents secured the scene. Someone wrapped blankets around our shoulders. Another offered water. I drank automatically, barely tasting it. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now," Hale said, "we move fast and carefully." She explained in fragments, careful not to overwhelm us more than we already were. My mother had discovered the truth months earlier: hidden accounts, shell companies, money cycling through property deals that didn't make sense. At first, she thought it was a mistake. Then she thought it was an affair. By the time she realized it was criminal, she was already being watched. My father hadn't just been laundering money. He'd been coordinating it. When she confronted him, Hale said, he didn't deny it. He told her she'd misunderstood. Then he told her she was putting the family at risk by asking questions. That sentence lodged itself in my chest like a shard of glass. "She came to us the same week," Hale continued. "Quietly. Carefully. Everything you experienced tonight was her contingency plan. If she couldn't reach you herself, she needed you to trust the warning and leave." Tatum lifted his head. "So he was lying to us. The whole time?" "Yes," Hale said softly. "But that doesn't mean the love you felt wasn't real. It means it was manipulated." I didn't know whether that made it better or worse. We were taken to a federal field office before dawn. No flashing lights this time. No urgency in the drive, just a quiet, controlled movement from one protected space to another. Inside, everything smelled like coffee and disinfectant. We were separated briefly to give statements. An agent sat with Tatum the entire time, letting him talk in bursts, stopping when he needed to cry. No pressure. No leading questions. When it was my turn, the words poured out of me faster than I could organize them. Every strange moment. Every argument that had felt off. Every time my father had insisted something was normal when my instinct said it wasn't. They listened. They wrote. They believed me. That mattered more than I expected. My mother arrived just after sunrise. She looked smaller than I remembered, wrapped in a borrowed jacket, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back hastily. For a moment, we just stared at each other, frozen by the weight of everything we didn't know how to say. Then she crossed the room and pulled us both into her arms. "I'm so sorry," she whispered over and over. "I never wanted you anywhere near this." I didn't cry. Not then. I just held onto her and felt the ground finally stop shifting under my feet. Over the next weeks, the truth unfolded piece by piece. My father was charged with fraud, conspiracy, attempted coercion of witnesses, and multiple financial crimes spanning years. The calm, dependable life we'd lived had been funded by deception. The house was seized. Accounts frozen. Friends disappeared overnight. We moved states within a month. Not full witness protection, no new names, but enough distance and security that our routines changed completely. New schools. New neighbors. New rules about what we shared and with whom. Tatum stopped sleeping through the night. I stopped trusting silence. My mother blamed herself relentlessly, even as everyone around her told her she'd done the bravest thing possible. Therapy became a standing appointment for all three of us. Some sessions were quiet. Some were brutal. All of them were necessary. The trial came 8 months later. I didn't attend every day, but I was there when the verdict was read. Guilty. On all major counts. My father never looked at us. Not once. When it was over, I expected relief. Instead, what I felt was clarity. The text message that woke me at 2 a.m. hadn't shattered my life. It had revealed the truth hiding underneath it. And as painful as that truth was, it was also the reason my brother and I were still alive. We weren't saved by luck. We were saved by a mother who chose honesty over fear, and trusted her children to run. The aftermath was quieter than the escape, but in many ways, it was harder. Once the headlines faded and the case stopped being breaking news, we were left with the slow, exhausting work of rebuilding a life that no longer had a foundation. There is no manual for learning that the person who tucked you in at night, who taught you how to ride a bike, who reminded you to finish your homework, was also living a parallel life built on lies and crime. We moved again after the trial, not because we were told to, but because staying felt impossible. Every grocery store aisle, every familiar street, carried memories that no longer fit reality. My mother found a small house in a quiet town where nobody knew our last name, where we could introduce ourselves without flinching. The first night there, none of us slept. The house was empty except for mattresses on the floor and a few boxes marked kitchen and clothes. No photos on the walls. No history. Just space. I lay awake listening to unfamiliar sounds, realizing that silence no longer felt safe, it felt like something waiting. Tatum struggled in ways I didn't fully understand at first. He became hyper-alert, jumping at sudden noises, checking locks twice before bed. At school, teachers said he was polite and distant, like he was constantly bracing for something bad to happen. Therapy helped, but progress came in inches, not leaps. My mother carried guilt like a second skin. She replayed every argument, every moment she dismissed her instincts. She apologized to us more times than I could count, even though none of this had been her fault. Eventually, our therapist helped her understand that responsibility and blame are not the same thing. Knowing the difference didn't erase the pain, but it softened its edges. As for me, I changed in quieter ways. I stopped assuming adults knew what they were doing. I stopped believing that calm voices always told the truth. I learned to trust patterns more than promises. College applications came and went. I chose a school far enough away to feel independent, but close enough that I could be home within a few hours if Tatum needed me. Leaving him behind was harder than leaving my childhood home. On my last night before moving into my dorm, he asked me, very seriously, if I thought things could ever feel normal again. I didn't lie to him. I don't think it will feel like the old normal, I said. But I think we'll build a new one. And it might be stronger. He nodded, like that was enough for now. Years passed. The trial became something people mentioned less often. My father's sentence was long enough that time itself became a kind of distance. I didn't visit. Not once. That wasn't revenge, it was self-preservation. Forgiveness, I learned, doesn't always require proximity. My mother rebuilt her career from the ground up. Different field. Different pace. She chose work that ended at reasonable hours, that didn't follow her home. Slowly, she started smiling again, not the careful kind, but the genuine kind that reaches your eyes. One evening, years later, we sat on the back porch watching the sun go down. Tatum was inside, laughing on the phone with a friend. The sound still felt miraculous. "You saved us," I said suddenly. My mother looked startled. "No. I warned you. You saved yourselves." Maybe that was true. Maybe it wasn't. What I knew for certain was this: one message, sent in the middle of the night, had changed everything. It had taken away the illusion of safety, but it had given us something better. Truth. Choice. And the chance to run toward a life that was actually ours. I still think about that night sometimes, the darkness, the fear, the way my heart pounded as we climbed out a window and trusted a warning that didn't make sense yet. I don't see it as the night my family broke. I see it as the night we survived. Thank you for watching the video, like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.